There is a moment that feels strangely out of place in a crisis. Everything is loud. Voices overlap. Emotions spill into the air. People rush to fix, to argue, to react. And then there is someone who doesn't. They don't raise their voice. They don't explain themselves. They don't hurry to prove anything. They just sit there, breathing slowly, watching, as if the chaos isn't pulling at them the way it pulls at everyone else. At first, it looks like strength, composure, emotional control, the kind of calm people admire and secretly wish they had. But if you've ever been near someone like this, you may have felt something else too. A subtle discomfort, a quiet question forming in the back of your mind. How are they so untouched, not impressed, not overwhelmed, not even shaken? We're taught to believe that calm means peace, that silence means clarity, that the person who stays steady in the storm must be the strongest one in the room. But what if that calm didn't come from confidence at all? What if it was learned, slowly, after reacting, stopped feeling safe? This is not a story about being emotionally superior. It's a story about adaptation. Because sometimes the calmest person in the room isn't the most peaceful. They're the one who learned, long ago, that staying still was the only way to survive. We often talk about calm as if it's a personality trait, as if some people are simply built that way, naturally grounded, naturally steady, naturally unaffected, but calm is rarely who someone is. It's what someone learned. If you look closely, calm behaves less like a temperament and more like a pattern, a repeated response to the world, something practiced, often unconsciously, over time. Patterns don't appear randomly. They form because at some point they worked. For many calm people, reacting didn't lead to understanding. Explaining didn't lead to being heard. Showing emotion didn't lead to safety. It led to escalation, to misunderstanding, to consequences that felt heavier than silence. So the system adjusted. Less reaction, less expression, more internal control. Not because they didn't feel, but because feeling openly became expensive. This is why calm can feel so consistent across situations. Work stress, relationship conflict, unexpected loss. The response looks the same, not because the emotions are the same, but because the pattern is. And patterns are efficient. They conserve energy. They reduce risk. They create predictability in environments that once felt unstable. Understanding calm this way changes the question entirely. Instead of asking, why are they like this? We start asking, what did this response protect them from? That shift matters, because once you see calm as a learned pattern, not an identity, you stop judging it, you stop romanticizing it, and you start recognizing it for what it really is, an intelligent adaptation, one that made sense when it formed, one that deserves understanding, and one that, if it's no longer serving you, can eventually be reshaped. What rarely gets talked about is what came before the calm, because most people who appear steady today were not always that way. In fact, many of them were once the most emotionally reactive people in the room, just in quieter ways. They were the overthinkers, the ones who replayed conversations long after everyone else had moved on, the ones who noticed every shift in tone, every pause, every unspoken change in energy. Their minds were never at rest. They anticipated conflict before it arrived. They tried to prevent disappointment before it could happen. Caring felt constant, exhausting, necessary. These were the people who believed that if they just tried harder, explained better, loved deeper, stayed more available, they could control the outcome. They thought emotional effort was the price of stability. And for a while, it almost worked, until it didn't. At some point, the efforts stopped paying off. The reassurance didn't calm anyone. The explanations didn't change the pattern. The emotional labor only made the loss sharper when things still fell apart. That's when something shifted. Not overnight, not dramatically, but quietly. The nervous system learned that constant vigilance wasn't protection, it was depletion. That reacting faster didn't create safety. That caring more didn't guarantee care in return. So the volume slowly turned down. Thoughts became shorter, Responses became slower. Silence began to feel like relief. This is where calm is often misunderstood. From the outside, it looks like emotional maturity. From the inside, it often begins as exhaustion. Not a decision to be detached, but a decision, often unconscious, to stop bleeding energy into situations that no longer responded to it. The calm you see now didn't replace anxiety, it grew out of it. Calm rarely arrives as clarity. More often, it arrives as retreat. After enough emotional strain, something in the system gives way. Not in a dramatic collapse, but in a quiet pulling back. The moment when reacting stops feeling useful, when engagement begins to feel dangerous, when staying present costs more than it gives. This is where burnout and trauma often intersect. Burnout teaches the body that constant effort leads to depletion. Trauma teaches it that emotional openness can invite harm. Together, they send a powerful message. Less is safer. So the first version of calm forms. It isn't wisdom yet. It isn't peace. It's a withdrawal. Conversations become shorter. Reactions soften. Emotional investment narrows. Not because the person stopped caring, but because caring without protection became unsustainable. This withdrawal is often misunderstood as growth. From the outside, it looks like maturity, like someone who has figured it out, but internally, it's closer to a ceasefire. The nervous system isn't relaxed, it's conserving. And conservation makes sense. When life has proven unpredictable, stepping back restores a sense of control. When emotional exposure has led to pain, distance feels stabilizing. This is the turning point most people miss. Calm doesn't begin as enlightenment. It begins as self-preservation. A way of saying, I can't afford to keep responding like I used to. Understanding this matters because it reframes calm not as a moral achievement, but as a survival response, one that protected something fragile at a critical moment. And like all survival strategies, it worked. But it wasn't meant to be the final form. At this point, it's tempting to explain calm as a mindset shift, a decision, a belief, a new way of thinking. But what actually changed runs deeper than thought. Long before the mind reframed anything, the nervous system adapted. When we talk about calm, we often mention the brain, especially the amygdala and the prefrontal cortex. The amygdala detects threat. The prefrontal cortex evaluates and regulates. In moments of stress, these two systems compete for control. For most people, threat wins. Emotion floods the system, and reaction follows. But for those who have lived through sustained emotional intensity, something else happens. The nervous system learns through repetition, not through insight, but through exposure. After enough overwhelm, the body begins to slow the signal. Not because danger disappeared, but because constant activation became unsustainable. This is where the shift occurs. The system develops a wider window of tolerance. Emotions still arise, but they no longer immediately tip the body into fight or flight. There is space, a pause, just enough distance for choice to appear. This is not suppression. Suppression pushes emotion down. Regulation allows emotion to move through without taking over. That difference is subtle, but crucial. True calm is not the absence of fear or anger. It is the ability to stay present while they pass through the body. The heart rate rises, then settles. The thought appears, then loosens its grip. This is why calm people often say very little in moments of intensity. Their silence isn't emptiness, it's regulation in motion, and it's learned, slowly, painfully, through experiences that force the system to either adapt or burn out completely. Calm is not a mental trick. It's a nervous system that has learned how to stay online without going into collapse. Here is where the conversation becomes uncomfortable, but necessary. Not all calm is the same. From the outside, regulation and dissociation can look identical. The voice is steady, the face is neutral, the reaction is minimal. But internally, these two states are worlds apart. Regulation is presence, dissociation is distance. When someone is regulated, they are here. They feel what's happening in real time, emotion, sensation, meaning, but they are not overwhelmed by it. Their calm is flexible. If the moment calls for warmth, they can offer it. If it calls for firmness, they can respond. There is access, choice, movement. Dissociative calm is different. It's quiet but not grounded, still but not connected. Emotions are not flowing. They're muted. The body isn't settled, it's numbed. This kind of calm doesn't come from safety. It comes from learned detachment, and it often forms when staying fully present once felt unsafe. Dissociation is the nervous system saying, if I don't feel this, I can survive it. This is why some calm people feel strangely far away, even when they're right in front of you. Conversations stay surface level. Intimacy feels difficult. Joy and pain register at the same low volume. Nothing explodes, but nothing fully lands either. This distinction matters because we tend to praise calm without asking what it costs. We reward composure, even when it's built on disconnection. We assume silence equals wisdom, but silence can also mean absence. A simple way to tell the difference is this: regulated calm expands capacity. Dissociated calm shrinks it. One allows you to engage with life more fully. The other keeps life at arm's length. And here's the part most people miss. Dissociation isn't a failure. It's a brilliant short-term solution. It protected something vulnerable when no other option existed. But when the environment changes, the strategy needs to change too. Calm doesn't have to mean disappearing. It can mean staying without losing yourself. One of the most common misunderstandings about calm people is that they don't feel very much. The truth is often the opposite. Many of them feel intensely. They notice subtleties others miss. They register emotional shifts quickly. What changed isn't the depth of feeling, it's the relationship to it. Emotional fluency means knowing how to feel without being overtaken. It's the ability to let an emotion move through you without turning it into a story, an identity, or an emergency. Anger can appear without becoming aggression. Sadness can arrive without becoming collapse. Uncertainty can exist without demanding immediate answers. This isn't numbness, and it isn't suppression. Suppression is effortful. It requires tension. It's the constant act of pushing something down and hoping it stays there. Emotional fluency, by contrast, is relaxed. The emotion is allowed, but it isn't fed. Calm people often carry an internal reminder. This is temporary, not as blind optimism, but as memory. They've lived long enough to see emotions crest and fall. They know that feelings intensify when resisted, and soften when allowed. This is why they can sit with discomfort without rushing to fix it. Why silence doesn't automatically signal danger. Why they can hold space for others without absorbing everything themselves. Holding space doesn't mean being unaffected. It means being regulated enough to stay present without being pulled under. That capacity creates a different kind of safety in relationships. One where emotions are welcomed but not weaponized. Where intensity doesn't require escalation. Calm at its healthiest isn't emotional absence. It's emotional literacy. And literacy, once learned, gives you options you didn't have before. Calm carries real power. In tense moments, it slows the room down. In conflict, it disrupts predictable patterns. When someone refuses to escalate, manipulation loses its grip. Drama has nothing to feed on. This is why calm can feel intimidating. People who stay regulated see more. They notice motives. They catch inconsistencies. While others react, they observe. And that distance gives them leverage, often without saying a word. But this power has a cost that rarely gets acknowledged. When you stay calm in a world that equates intensity with honesty, you're often misunderstood. Your silence gets labelled as indifference. Your restraint gets mistaken for disengagement. People assume you don't care, when in reality, you care enough not to react impulsively. Over time, this can create distance. Not because you want separation, but because emotional connection requires visibility. And when calm becomes the default, others don't always know how to reach you. You may feel respected, but not fully known. Stable, but alone in moments when you wish someone would lean in. There's also an internal cost. If calm becomes something you rely on too rigidly, it can harden. What began as regulation turns into avoidance. Not engaging feels safer than risking disruption. Not expressing feels easier than risking misunderstanding. This is the quiet tension at the heart of calm. It protects you, but it can also limit you. The question isn't whether calm is good or bad, it's whether it's flexible. Calm is most powerful when it's a choice, not a rule you're afraid to break. There comes a point when calm needs to evolve. What once protected you doesn't always need to keep protecting you in the same way. The environment changes, the threats shift, but the nervous system can lag behind, still responding as if every moment requires defense. Rebuilding calm means turning it from armor into agency. Armor is rigid. It stays on at all times. It keeps you safe, but it also keeps you closed. Choice, on the other hand, is flexible. It allows you to stay calm when it serves you, and to engage when connection matters more. This kind of calm doesn't disappear under pressure. It adapts. Instead of withdrawing automatically, you notice the impulse to pull back. Instead of silencing yourself by default, you check whether expression is safe now, not whether it was safe then. This is where regulation deepens. Simple practices help, not as discipline, but as permission. Pausing before responding, feeling your feet on the ground, letting the body settle before the mind decides. These small moments retrain the system to stay present without bracing. Boundaries become clearer too. Not walls, but guidelines. You don't have to absorb everything. You don't have to explain everything. But you also don't have to disappear to remain calm. Calm as choice means trusting your capacity to handle what comes up. Not because nothing will hurt, but because you no longer need to avoid feeling in order to stay intact. When calm stops being armor, it becomes something lighter, something you can carry without hiding behind it. Think of the ocean. On the surface, waves crash, wind moves unpredictably. The water looks restless, even violent. But beneath that, far below the noise, there is stillness, depth, stability the storm can't reach. Calm people have learned how to live there, not by escaping the waves, but by anchoring themselves deeper. They still feel life. They still experience loss, uncertainty, and change. They just aren't thrown by every surge anymore. This is what true calm becomes when it's no longer just survival. Not silence, not withdrawal, but depth. If you learn to stay calm because you had to, because reacting once cost you too much, you're not broken. You adapted, and you can choose what that calm becomes now. If this video helped you recognize yourself, or put words to something you've carried quietly, you're not alone here. This channel explores the deeper, quieter patterns of the human mind. If you want more conversations like this, consider subscribing. And if any part of this resonated with you, leave a comment below. Your story might help someone else feel seen. Thank you for watching.